Design challenges that you may see outside the U.S. We have Dax Simpson. He joins us from Mexico City. Dax is with KIO Networks, and he's a global data center facilities manager. And he will talk about some of the challenges found throughout data center design outside the U.S. Thank you.
This is the mouse, right? This is the mouse. Okay. Hello, hello. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, first of all, good morning. I'm sorry if my English is not proper because it's not my first language, so I appreciate a little of patience, and I'm also kind of nervous because it's my first presentation in English, so I'll try to be as clear as I can. Another apology is that my mom tried very hard to educate me, and I have to tell you that she fails. Because I use a lot of slangs, a lot of improper words, and my apologies for the ladies here, but it's the way that I think I can express myself clearly, right? So, well, thank you to Mike. KIO Networks is a Mexican company, Mexican investors that has an idea 12 years ago to begin a data center business in Mexico, and the business has a different path right now because we used to be a data center, a colocation data center, and now we are an IT integrator with data center facilities. What is this? Because we rather prefer to, in order to succeed in our SLAs, that we want to operate our own data center instead of going to third parties and give that opportunity and business to others. And the risk, if they fail, we fail. That's why we have our own data centers. Okay, our business objectives. The data centers must be 100% aligned with the business objectives. The data center should be designed and built in an acceptable timeline, and they must operate under business requirements. Mission critical and high availability. I just want to ask here the people, how many of you are vendors? Not that much. End users? The other people are consultant maybe? I don't know. Okay, and the other one I just here, passing by. Okay. Okay, because I'm going to refer and I'm going to talk about my personal experience. I don't have a data center here in the U.S. I hope sometime soon we will be here also. So I didn't actually have any competitors here like in data center business, right? So there might be something challenging here. And the agility and quickness of how fast the corporation need this data center built, and the scalability. This is a big issue. How big it is. How do I predict the future in my data center, right? The return of investment, how much we are going to invest, because the stakeholders want it fast, want it high-tech, and want it cheap. So let me tell you something about the stockholders. I don't know the principals director here, but the people that are in front of the project, dealing with the contractors and all of that, when they get together, they play like soccer or they play basketball, right? And the middle management, when they get together, they play tennis. And the board of directors, when they get together, they play golf. So the higher in the level you are in the corporation, higher responsibility and smaller your balls. Sorry for that, ladies, I'm sorry. This is Alessandra Ambrosio. She's from Brazil. She's our corporate image because we think that we love IT. We love IT because we love it. Every day we are involved with it, and IT is beautiful. That's why we are using this image, using Alessandra Ambrosio. She used to be a Victoria's Secret model, but now she is part of our image for this year. And the success of a project begins with a good planning phase. I know planning is bored. Planning is kind of being in meetings after meeting after meeting, but let me tell you something. If you don't have at least 60% of your time in planning, your project will not succeed. You will have a lot of issues, And we have 12 data centers in 12 years, almost one data center per year. And the moment you think you have all figured out, you're wrong. Because every single project will lead you to different challenges in every different country. The planning phase of the data center must always be aligned with the corporate strategy. Our personnel, me included, we always want to have the better data center, the higher tech, the more availability as possible, but sometimes it is not aligned with your business strategy. For example, if your business is to make jeans, your data center should not be a tier 4, I guess, but depends in how available your supply chain is supported by your IT system, right? So that's one of the things that you have to consider. Everyone wants to be in tier 3, tier 4 is kind of a fashion thing nowadays. But does your business require? It is very expensive though. Availability, 2N, N plus 1, 2N plus 1. What do your business really need? Execution timeline, how long will it take to be done? Resources, where you're going, do you have the resources available? This is very important to take into consideration in the execution timeline. Outsourcing versus going in-house. Do I have the people to do the project? Do I need to hire some other people to help me? I really recommend that you hire a consultancy firm to work with you right from the beginning. Because sometimes we hire people at the end, but at the end is a problem because those consultants can help you to identify problems. Because for me, when I got all these plans in front of me, I'm always thinking in the operation of the current data centers and the expansion of the business, and I cannot have all my 5 senses inside that project. So you need other people's eyes to help you to deal with that things right at the beginning. Everything should be aligned with the corporate policy and compliance. Try to not to go further, but sometimes the market or the country where you're going leads you to take some other paths in order to accomplish the conclusion of the project. And also deal with DRP or BCP. Our data center is going to be a core business, or it's going to be our DCP. Should I keep my core and outsource my disaster recovery, or should I handle both? This is something about risk sharing, right? If you keep everything, you keep all the risk. If you outsource something, you share the risk. To identify on time the critical pathway is the key to anticipate issues and achieve a good execution. The site selection. The site selection can determine a lot of the critical pathways. Where should I put it? For example, Panama and Dominican Republic, we are in tax-free zones, right? And this thing about the tax-free zones is very good because you will have incentive for the people who are investing the money, but the legal documentation and permits are very, very strict. In Mexico right now, we are about to begin our 4th data center there, facility itself, but the land is free. So imagine how many people are in the waiting list. But then those are the things that you have to consider. But because it's a technological industrial area, and you have to prove that you are apporting something or giving something to the technology in Mexico in order to receive that land for free. That's a good incentive, right? And the advantages, the incentives, the legal documentation, and the availability of resources and providers in the area. Mexico is a very huge country. I was born and raised in Panama. I recently moved to Mexico 1 year ago. And it's a huge huge country with a lot of contractors and resources all available. But for example, going to Dominican Republic, when I was there, the people used to say, this is an island. We receive shipments of supplies, of whatever, every 3 months. So you have to consider that in your timeline, that there's be, for example, brick for your data center is going to, if you don't have any more, you have to consider that in 3 months more, you will have brick, and there's another people waiting for that brick also. So there's the kind of things that when you go globally, is very, very difficult to understand. Because we go, Mexico have a brick right beside me, but doesn't happen the same in other countries. So that's one of the things very important. To certify or to not certify, this is a big issue. The decision to certify or not your data center is an important critical pathway, which needs to be answered under the following premises. Which certification? The Optime Institute, ICREA, LEED, CEDA. It's really necessary for my business need. Do I really need to be certified? For example, for an in-house data center, sometimes should, sometimes you don't. But if you are outsourcing at colocation, I think that certification is a plus. It's a nice to have because you will be able to secure your customer by the documentation that you have, right? It's a piece of paper, but it really helps. It's a corporate policy and compliance. For us in KIO, it is not a corporate policy, but it's becoming something that your market and your customers is in Mexico. They don't ask you that you are tier 4, you are tier 3. They don't ask you that. They used to go to the contract and the SLA. Our SLA is 99.99, so we have almost we have the same SLA that at tier 4, but we don't certify our data centers tier 4. Nowadays, we are starting to begin certifying our data centers because the market desires the certification. The certification timeline is very big. You have to consider that you have a concept review with the Optime Institute, you have a detailed review, and then you have the certification process. This will take you from 3 months to 6 months, depending on how big your project is and how many issues does the Optime Institute will find out in the plans. Do I have a budget for this CapEx? It's kind of expensive depending on the amount of raised floor, the white space, and the density of the data center. You have to consider that in your CapEx also. And there is an established return of investment of going through this certification process. Because if your market and your customer does not demand, why investing $250,000 in a certification that you want the stockholders will not see the benefit of it? The design, the availability level, the redundancy. We are talking about 2N, N+1, and one of the things that people always want to say is that they want to be as available as possible. But aligned with the corporate policy, you have to focus on that because we as facility managers, we want to be, when we go to sleep, we want to sleep well. And if you have a 2N facility, you can sleep well. When you have an S+1 or a tier 1 facility, you might have some issues once in a while because you cannot apply concurrent maintainable at all times. Right. After the data center is built, can it be certified if needed? That'd be an issue. A good documentation plan will help you to achieve that certification when you desire to be certified. The end power and density. How dense is going to be? How many kilowatts per rack should I calculate? That's one of the things that is a challenge because depending on the market, for example, in Mexico we have data center of 6.5 kW per rack in a facility which is 20,000 square feet. And in Dominican Republic we have 2,000 square feet. It's a small data center, but we have only 3 kW per rack. It depends on the market. The architectural design. In Mexico, we make our data center facility seismic approved. In Dominican Republic, we go through hurricane approved because depending on the market, you have to study all the environmental conditions in order for your design. The scalability and modularity is, for example, in Mexico and Panama, we have phases because the market demands that, for example, you go in phases in each data center. And in Guatemala and Dominican Republic, single phase will do the market, and hopefully in 3 years it will be full. So that will be the happy problem, right? To go to build another data center. New technologies and energy efficiency, PUE. The PUE is kind of in conflict with the availability, because every time you make a design, this is going to be a 1.4 PUE data center. Okay, when? In 10 years. So, but you needed availability today, 99% of availability today. So it's in conflict every time. So it's kind of difficult to go with the PUE and the availability right hand with hand. So you have to be very strict, make the stockholder for understand what your business should have, what is nice to have, and if you have the CapEx and the time to achieve those desires. Legal documentation and permit. Do I have any lawyers or attorneys here? Good. They are liars. You never trust them, because in the contract they say, oh, don't worry, this permit is 1 week. And when you go after a week, it is ready. No. And they take the contract and say, you have to go to the small letter. It says, 1 week, always multiply by 10. But when I only remove the 0 of the 10 and the S of the weeks in order to make some room for other issues. They always lie. They want to sell, they charge a lot, and they never achieve the documentation on time. So be careful with the attorneys and those regulations on each country. The design must be adapted to the local regulation and standards. For example, I think that in US, when you are using underfloor cabling, you need plenum, right? Plenum jacket. We try to continue with that corporate policy in other countries, and we were just throwing the money away. Because, for example, in Panama and Guatemala and Dominican Republic does not require that. It is a nice to have, but it's not a must have, right? So we are talking about zero elegant jacket is $200 a box, and we are talking about the plenum jacket is $1,200 a box. So it's $1,000 each box, so we are losing money. So be careful with those regulations that try to compliance with the zero allergen, which is good, instead of going to a CM jacket, but not going as higher as your corporate policy, because you can improve the investment. The shareholders incentive, you have to take care of them also. So this kind of thing that they will like a lot. The attorneys, specialists in construction and legal subjects. You have to find people that really knows what they're doing, that really have the contacts in order to make things happen, because with the government in Latin America, things are slow. I don't know here in the US, but very, very slow. The environmental impact policy. I think we are, in the world, we are already aligned to that. The legal documentation process timeline, how long, how many weeks that every process takes. The authority having jurisdiction has some flexibility, and the partial permits and delivery. This means that, for example, in other countries, I don't know here in the US, but at least when I submit my plans, and I submit my environmental impact analysis, if the environmental impact analysis, which is low because we are a data center, we don't use chemicals and stuff, they allow you to begin, moving the land and make platform and stuff. Okay, that's good enough, because you save a couple of weeks there. And after that, you can have the timeline to have your construction permit online, ready for build up the data center. But for example, in Mexico, I make the commissioning at the data center, and the attorney goes like, here is the construction permit. It's already up and running 9 months after. So that's why I'm saying attorneys lies, always lies. Provider selection. This is a very important issue. I think some guys of Caterpillar here, right? Where's Caterpillar? Good Caterpillar is strict and order in their deliveries. I used to use Cummins. I used to use SDMO. And then over my last 3 data center, my 4th one in Spain is going to be Caterpillar also. They always achieve the timeline. They are serious about that. So let me know where you go sitting in lunch. We are talking about commission, man. So when you're going to any country, you have to see if they have available vendors and competition. Tech support. Remember that you are not buying a box. You are buying a service, lifetime service of the equipment. So this is very important to go through the experience, the references that they have, previous experience in data centers. And I always align all the acquisitions of your suppliers with the corporate policy, because sometimes the people in the accounting department, they are kind of cheap and they don't want to give money. So try to let them understand how important it is for their help in the project. The commercial condition, the contractors, how many down payments, how big is the down payment, and how are you going to deliver the payment every time the equipment is on site, when it's installed. The warranties also is very important to take care of. So the CapEx and design versus the local condition. You have to make a mix of all of that in order to take a very good project. The contractors. The contractor is a critical pathway, right? Every contractor will tell you that they are capable to build the data center, and everyone will tell you that the timeline that you want or you desire is not accomplished. Let me tell you something. It is doable, but you have to take care of all the other things behind in order to make things happen with them. So you have to evaluate if they have technical capabilities, if they have enough money to support the project, because you don't pay in advance all the money for the project. And they have the human resources to see if they have people inside in-house, or they are making subcontractors after that. Review the experience in data centers. Sometimes you don't find in other countries the experience in data centers, but at least you will try to find a very important contractor that at least has made something that represents mission critical. For example, a hospital. Hospital is mission critical. So if they can be in that kind of path, you can achieve a good project with a contractor. The materials and supply availability. For example, I told you in Dominican Republic is very strict, the amount of resources there. The local labor and regulation. We are in a tax-free zone area, but there's a union there. And since they are not working there, we have to pay the union a monthly fee for now on, because we are not using their people to build up the data center. So the penalties and execution timelines, let know the contractor that if he does not accomplish the timeline for your business, he will be in trouble. You will be putting your hand in his pocket, because every time we go to a country, I don't know why, but lucky for us, we always have a customer right outside the lot waiting for the data center to be ready for service and go in. And we have penalties with that customer, right? So pass those penalties to the contractor, and he will understand how do you feel when someone is outside the door waiting for you. The continuous supervision and reporting. Very important to have a very nice, a very prepared and responsible project manager. In-house project manager, don't trust the contractor project manager because he is wearing their jacket, not yours. You need that guy on your team in order to let you know things before it happens. The contractor model and bonds, insurance policies, because there are things that after you put the, how you say, ¿cómo se dice tabla roca, perdón? Sheetrock. Over here, sorry for that. Over here, if they, behind that sheetrock, they might leave some installation improperly. You cannot see that, so that's insurance for like 3 years. After you see that things, that will help you a lot to, share the risks with them. So in that way, they will be more responsible to do things with quality, because the folks over here were talking about quality. That's one of the things that you don't see. And I don't know what I did. Okay. Okay, so far we have been talking about all planning. This is all the things happens before the data center. The execution is the most important critical pathway. It requires a strict follow-up sequence as well as the human resources for proper supervision of the different disciplines for a good execution and cost control. Supervision and reporting. I was mentioning that the project manager, very important person here, has to be very accurate in what he's doing. He needs to have a very good calendar control, the progress control, quality control. He is side by side with your consultant firm, which are making progress review of the installation, and let him know, because he cannot be an expert in everything. That's why you hire a third party, because they have single expert in every discipline that they can see things happen and let you know on time before something really bad will cost you money. Because it's always you, not them. They look the way to, avoid that responsibility. Finance control, how the budgets are being used, the payments. Deviation analysis, that he can be able to identify things before it happens and make proper suggestions. Don't come to me with a problem. Come to me with a problem and at least 3 solutions, and let me take a decision. Solution alternatives and management. An inconsistent project manager is the one who always gets issues exploding in his hand and does not see things coming. I have a couple of those no longer with me. You have to fire those guys, because this would cost you more money than let them, go somewhere else. A good project manager is the one who always has a project under control, has the ability to detect on time the critical pathways and anticipate to any problems by providing proper adjustment plans and solutions. Deliveries. On-time deliveries of the mission-critical equipment and materials are essential in order to complete the data center project in time and form. Long-time delivery equipment, as I was saying, our guys here from Caterpillar, they take a lot of time, 5 months to 6 months in order to deliver. So you have to include that as a critical pathway in your business, in your project, and your business plan, because they will really affect your timeline if you don't send the PO to them on time. Also, every mid-voltage equipment, that will always take a lot of time. So you have to be very careful with those equipment. Your POs and contract conditions. Once again, the attorneys and the lawyer, back and forward, their contract. They are always arguing about a number. They don't like number 3 like this. They want it in Roman number, and they give you a lot of issues, and you cannot, proceed with the POs. So you have to be careful with the attorneys again. Weekly manufacturing follow-ups. I will sound naggy. I don't know if that's the proper word, but every single week, call the manufacturer. In which phase is my equipment? Because they used to say, it's in the queue. Yeah, but in the queue, behind how many people? And then when you are ready to receive the equipment is not even shipped out of the factory. So make a progress review of your equipment every single week. The factory witness test is a very good practice. I know it costs money, but it's a very good practice, because if you are buying a Porsche, it's better for you to test that Porsche in the racetrack before you go in a highway. Something happens to that Porsche, the manufacturer is over there to fix it right away, and when you receive it, you will receive it with no problems at all, and you know that 99% it will be ready for service. Shipping progress and delivery. This is part of the follow-on that the project manager should keep very tight. Areas ready for reception, all the platform ready, and the maneuvers and insurance. If, for example, if when you are moving the UPS up and down, it falls out, you have the insurance that will cover that investment. Before startups, always pre-check and test. Testing and commissioning. Startup testing and commissioning are essential to guarantee a correct operation of the data center during its useful lifetime. It's recommended to hire a third-party specialist for the commissioning. I really recommend that, because there's so many things happen at the same time that you cannot be aware of everything. And electrical testing. The electrical testing is a very good practice that I consider, because, for example, you have all the electricians checking the torque of the connections. Certain is that you have, false contact with the thermograph and all that. They can assure you have one phase switch with the other. They can identify that kind of things. Grounding and bonding, they can identify if they are properly installed. So it's very good before you go to the startup of the manufacturers. that you have an electrical testing check. And on the commissioning ISD, this is the fun part because you begin to, play with the breakers and the system, see how it react to the different scenarios of fault that we do that, and a strict follow-up to the accomplishment of the test and startup, reporting and feedback. There's always things happen, always. There's no single project that is totally perfect. So feedback and after the commission, a brainstorm of what happened, what can we improve and do better for the next project is a very good recommendation. The data center operation, no strings attached. Don't let the contractor to handle you the data center saying that, don't worry, we will fix that in the next month under the guarantee. Don't let them do that because if they do it, they take more time and sometimes they do it wrong. So don't let any conditions for you to receive the data center. The data center operation. When the data center is in operation, the following points should be considered. The as-built drawings. Receive the as-built drawing and have some people of your team reviewing all the installation and that the as-built drawings are accurate with what is built, what you are receiving. The operation manuals or policy, all the documentation have a binder and you can, scan it or maybe use the PDF on cloud and have all the manuals of the equipment for you to have any future reference of your equipment. Maintenance contract, as soon as you turn on everything, you should have already signed the maintenance contract because you need that air conditioning, for example, at UPS, recharge the batteries before they're ready for service. And the filters of the air conditioners will be dirty because they remove all the dust and the humidity of the project. So you need change in order not to pay for that. If you have a maintenance contract, the manufacturer will do that for you for free. And then you will be sure that when you're ready for service, your equipment will be fine. Train your staff in the equipment that you are getting. In, for example, the DCIM and the BMS, you have to have them trained in order to operate that. The feedback and continuous improvement, this is Japanese word called Kaizen, which is continuous improvement. There's always place for Kaizen. Operation aligned to the business objective is not only the construction, but right now the operation should be aligned as well to the business objectives. So the summary here that we had go through this presentation, that the business objectives definition, a good planning phase, boring, but a good planning phase, invest a lot of time there. The site location, where you want to select your site, use third parties, consultants to let you know that. If considered to certify or not, that depends on the business objective, it's up to you. The design will be aligned with the certification and the policy. The legal documentation for construction, and be careful once again with the attorney. It's not personal, but it's been so many times that I've been through this that I don't like it. Now, legal documentation for construction, the provider selection, Emerson, APC, GE, Caterpillar, the contractor selection, the execution, a good execution with a good PM over there, a good project manager, deliveries on time and insurances, and testing and commissioning for your data center to be ready for service. In conclusion, this loop is always not only for the project itself, but also for the operation. There's always the business objective will be involved, a planning phase for every single inside project of the data center, the design, contracts, execution, commissioning, and operation feedback. Always test every single piece of equipment, even though you are in the operation. For example, I have a couple of issues for one of my data centers that the IT equipment doesn't have the latest firmware installed. And when we were doing maintenance on one of the critical paths, the A side, we turn it off, the equipment react with no problem. It was power up on the B side. And when we power up A and turn off B, the equipment, it was a very important storage equipment for us. It restart. And we began to see what happened because the people from IT department say we have an outage in this equipment. and the people from EMC came in and said, this equipment restart because you don't have the latest firmware. Because how can you depend on software for software that has to switch, that have to be hardware? That's very important. So you need to be aware of that kind of situation. And for example, Dell equipment or IBM, they usually don't switch when they are load sharing with the power supplies. So even though you have a 2N facility, you still have an issue with the IT equipment. So you have to test the IT equipment before going in the production environment in order to make sure that they switch and your availability is not compromised. Questions? Thank you very much.
Were you able to find the resources in the different markets that you needed, subcontractors, people to do the testing? What were the hardest resources to find?
I'm sorry, can you be?
Were you able to find the resources that you wanted as you went to different countries? You know, are there good electricians in the Dominican Republic in the data center? Or, what were the challenges there?
One of the challenge in the countries that are very small is that since they don't have so many standards, the installations of the electrical area, which is the most important part of like the heart and the veins of the data center, is that they don't have the expertise. And we are developing this kind of contractors because we are accomplish the strict and the regulation that we have in our country and following the regulation of the US. So it's kind of difficult in the small country. For example, I know that now that we're heading back down to Colombia and Chile, we will not have that kind of problem because they have very strict regulations. But for example, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and my country, Panama, they are not very strict with those kind of things. So that's a challenge to have. Yeah. What we do is that when we invite everyone to the bid, we will tell them it's a strict and must have that all the participants here send people to visit our data center in Mexico to see what you are going to install. In that way, you can, be more, familiar with the installation. And I am not considering this kind of unistru, so I will write it down here because I was considered the cheapest one, right? So even though if they are not selected, that's one of the risks of their investment in participating in our project, because we want to make sure that they know where they're going to be. I don't want the CEO in my data center. I want the guy who's going to be day by day in the data center construction in order that he knows what he's doing. When something is doing the wrong way, he can tell, no, I saw it's not that way. It's like this, because this is the quality that they want. So that's one of the things that I do. I invite them to visit a couple of days in my data center so they can see what they are going to do.
What about maintenance and service contracts? You kind of mentioned it there for a second. Do you suggest having those maintenance and service contracts in place to make it easier for service calls?
When you have a service contract, you have at least 12 months of warranty. So the parts are already included over there. But what you have to make sure, for example, depending on the business needs, because if you have a tier 1, tier 2, maybe you can wait. You can wait a couple of hours. But for example, we built and designed our data center with based on the tier 4 standard. So what we do is that in order to help the manufacturer to be more accurate and fast in the installation, we order a basic kit of spares, and we will keep them in our hardware warehouse for them. So when they get there, the technician doesn't have to be worried about any part. Go over there, make a proper analysis of the situation, and take the part over there as soon as we can, because we have a couple of parts identified that are the most common to fail. So that's what we do, and we always do contract 24/7, and our maintenance program is by every 2 months, because with 2N facility, when you go to one and the other one, you can at least take the chance to go every 2 months for maintenance.
Generally, the service contract would give you a faster response time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
There are some companies that'll choose not to go with the service contract to save money.
Yeah,
So-
but your risk is that, okay, I'm going to go with him first because he has a contract with me, and then you have to wait. That's one of the risks that you have to, consider. Yep. That's it.
You've done projects in multiple countries in Latin America. Each project, I'm sure, has its challenges, but from a build perspective and from a regulation perspective and just from a process perspective, is there a country that is the most difficult and a country that's the least difficult in your experience?
Yeah. For example, Guatemala the authority having jurisdiction was very flexible with only the environmental analysis, and when we submit the plans, they say, okay, this is for chemicals, they don't handle chemicals, so they like really care about their environment in Guatemala. So they allowed us to begin, move lands and all of that. We could take at least like 1 month, and after that month, we received the construction. So they were very flexible with that. So let us make a 2,000 square feet of white space facility, which is, I think, 50,000 square feet area. We did a project in 5.5 months, commission and everything, very fast. And for example, Chile is very strict. You will take at least 1 year in all the permits because they are very strict. They don't allow that you can submit something and then they allow you to do some other things. No, they will let you move 1 stone until everything is checked and everything is approved. So those are some of the things that you have to consider when the time to market is very important. Sometimes it's better to make merchant acquisition. You go with a guy that has already a data center, have present there. How much does this cost? I buy you and that's it. You became KIO and now I'm in the market, and then I can think about doing, a name because you have to make marketing and let people know you. And then while you are making the other things to build up a huge data center. The availability of fiber. Okay, we have like at least like 6 carriers there, very important carriers there. So the availability of carriers is very open wide. But for example, depending on the city, I can tell that the federal district, which is Mexico City, you have plenty of availability there with carriers. And Monterrey also is a very important city there, Guadalajara, and Mérida, where the Cancun area is, because the tourism there is very important, so you will have plenty of availability of carriers there. But for energy, there's only one single company that provides energy, which is CFE, which is the Federal Commission of Electricity. It's a government, and it's only one. This is one of the things, so that is kind of, for the whole country. But it's very good electricity because it's very stable. You can rely on the electricity, very stable. Even though if it's a nice to have, I have 2, entrance path with different substations. It's very, very reliable. My generators almost never goes on because the absence of the electricity, because my switch gear take one route or the other. I turn on my generator as a general basis every week just for testing. But once a year, I use my generators.
Even with storms?
Yep. Even with earthquakes. Yep. Very reliable.
Is the government considering deregulating the utility and opening it up to the public?
I don't know. Robert, does the CFE is considering opening the electricity market sometime soon?
One of the reforms which are going on in Congress is trying to open up. Actually, you cannot produce, but you can sell. You can transfer. There is a tricky part, but they are on the way.
But right now, there's no immediate plans.
How much do you, when you're working these different countries, how much do you do from your home base, Mexico, and how much local participation do you have? So for the purposes of the planning, do you have local people, or do you go from Mexico to the various countries? and that question goes through the whole process.
You says you as a person or you as KIO? Me as KIO. KIO. For example, my team is 41 people right now. As soon as we open Spain by October this year, we'll four more people, but it's operational. I have a team that is on the construction side. That, for example, we are going for the Monterrey area for the next data center. I have a couple of people go there. They make a scouting of the different lots that are available there, the opportunities and all that, and they come back to me with three different choices at least. And because of the, for example, it is in the airplane routes. You have a train. You have a lake. It's beside the sea. Those are the technical considerations that we address. And with these three samples, we go to the financial department and say, these are the alternatives here. This is my first choice, the second one, and the third one. Right now, KIO is so mature about this that they doesn't go with the cheapest lot, because they know that will be expensive in the long term. So they consider that. So that's what we do. When we got the lot, we are already seeing the contractors there, and the manufacturers know already that we are going there. So they are beginning to prepare. They always in touch with me. Where are you heading now? Okay, we are heading to Monterrey. It is a 10,000 square feet facility with 5 kW per rack, and they began doing the calculation and began working in the proposal, because they know that we take decisions so fast that we cannot wait 2 weeks in order for them to have the proposal in our hands. So we have a couple of people working in the development on growing of KIO right now.
When you're working outside of Mexico, do you have to hire some local, to understand what local regulations are? Do you get up to speed from KIO, or do you get local people?
Yeah, we got for example, for the local regulation, we have on our attorneys on site. They go over there, they evaluate other attorneys firms, and they go with the three most prestige firm, because that's why they have their names, right? Because they are serious about what they're doing. So we always look for those three firms. They're very important. Hire one, and they will get us done everything on the legal and documentation process. Huh? And lie to me, exactly. Yes, sir.
When do you start your planning of your operations and maintenance program? Do that as part of the project design?
For example, when I'm already asking the provider for the proposal, side by side, give me the proposal of 2 megawatts generator and your maintenance program at the same time for the next year with warranty, and the year after when the warranty is already void, right? In order to see that and include that in my budget for the next year already right from the beginning. Yeah. Any question? Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dax, for that very informative presentation on important decisions in the design phase. I think you have to give your mother a little more credit. You did a great job. Thank you. So we will now take a break. The break is provided by Tech Plan. We appreciate Tech Plan for offering that. And we'll meet back here at 10:50. We have a little extra time for the break, so thank you.